Winter arrived quietly that year. But the cold was deep enough to make people long for warmth, not only from thick coats, but from the presence of family and home. In that gentle Christmas season, Deep began her day with familiar thoughts. Would James like the gift? Would little NHI smile when she received hers? Deep had prepared carefully. She chose a warm winter coat for James, thinking only of how cold the coming days would be and how she wished he would stay healthy. Early in the morning, she came to the house and waited for a long time. James did not appear. She did not complain or ask questions, she simply waited. The way people wait when something truly matters. While waiting, Deep met Mrs. Huyen and little NHI. Slowly, the quiet house filled with warmth and life. Together, they decided to make a Christmas tree, one unlike any other. It wasn't made of pine or plastic, but from dried corn cobs, strings of small lights, and patient hands. NHI sat nearby, watching closely, her eyes sparkling as each light was turned on. Deep stood there silently, feeling a rare sense of peace settle in her heart. Christmas dinner was simple but full of care. Bread, warm dishes, and familiar flavors filled the small kitchen with comforting smells. NHI kept asking the same question again and again. Will Uncle James come home today? Deep smiled gently, even though she herself was waiting just as much. Then, as night fell, James finally arrived. He didn't come loudly or dramatically, but his presence alone seemed to brighten the room. In his hands was a large Christmas gift for NHI. When it was opened, her face lit up with joy, a small doll charm, a new pair of black shoes, and lots of candy. Her laughter rang out, pure and clear, carrying the true spirit of Christmas. They sat together at the table, sharing dinner and conversation. James admired the handmade Christmas tree and praised the food. NHI eagerly offered everyone more to eat, her small hands busy and her heart full. The meal was not fancy, but it was complete because everyone who mattered was there. Later that night, NHI grew sleepy. She held James's hand and asked him to stay, asking him to sing her a lullaby. James sat by her bed, his voice low and gentle as he sang. NHI soon drifted into sleep, her face calm and peaceful, as if all her small wishes had come true. When the house grew quiet, Deep and James talked softly. There were no grand words, only honest thoughts about family, about unspoken difficulties, about things left unresolved. Deep gently encouraged James to be truthful with his parents, believing that no matter how complicated a family might be, love was still waiting beneath it all. Before leaving, James put on the coat Deep had bought. It fit him well, warm not only in fabric, but in meaning. He looked back at the house one last time, the Christmas lights glowing. Deep standing quietly, NHI sleeping peacefully. In that moment, he felt something he hadn't felt in a long time, the feeling of belonging. That Christmas had no falling snow, no grand celebrations, but for Deep, it was more than enough. Warmth filled the small kitchen, the handmade tree, Me's laughter, and the quiet presence of those she called family.